Greetings, fellow Earthlings. My name is Zach,
And I'm Jessica.
and this is
High Level Hairesy.
Question everything. Without the question, how can you have the answer? Wisdom comes from within. This is High Level Hairesy.
Modern education. Are our kids being educated into curiosity, confidence, creativity, and real-life capability? Or are they being trained to comply, memorize, perform, and fit into a system?
Join us today as we ask the question, is school teaching kids how to think or what to think? Kids and our modern education. But before we get into it, we are going to start with our breath work and come into this space, this moment, and really hone in on what we're listening to. So I will count you down. Inhale will be your 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, and then we'll release with an audible sigh. Here, you guys sigh it out. So here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. As you could maybe hear, we have some guests with us today for our education discussion. And we have joining us today our kids, Layla.
Hi.
And Cash.
Hello.
And they are 16, almost 17. I am 16, going on 17. 16, almost 17, and 13 and a half. And they are joining us with their opinions on some of the questions we have regarding school being a system or a place of creativity and curiosity. And we'll also go into some things like homeschool alternatives, public school. And Layla and Cash actually have had experience with the homeschool alternative program and public school. So they'll be weighing in on that discussion today. So I am pretty excited to have them. It always feels good and kind of sucks for them that they have to talk about school during summer break. But after this, we will also be taking a summer break, and it will be the end of season 1. Ooh. So
Season 1.
Yes. And then we'll be back when school is back in session. So, all right. The first thing I would like to ask you guys is, when you hear the word school, what is the first feeling that comes up?
Draining.
Oh, draining. Dang. Okay.
I was going to say like routine.
And how do you feel about that routine?
I was going to say like forced routine.
Okay.
That's 2 words.
No, that's okay. It says what is the feeling that comes up, not necessarily the first word. So that's okay. So you feel drained from school.
Mm-hmm.
And Cash, it's pretty much the same. It's kind of forced routine that you're not really like vibing from.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy it.
No.
Do you just feel free, go into it a little bit. Tell me how you feel, like just your opinion on school, what it feels like for you as a 13-year-old young man in middle school.
It's just, I don't know how to just explain it. It's like annoying and, like Layla said, draining and just boring. There's the teachers, I feel like the teachers teach the way that they're told to, not how the students like to be taught. And I feel like also everybody has their own different learning methods.
Yep, we'll go into that
Yeah.
today too. We'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Yeah, it's not
But
one size fits all learning.
mhm.
Yeah. And do you feel like school makes you more curious or less curious?
Probably, I don't know, it kind of just stays the same.
So it doesn't really invoke anything for you.
No.
Kind of neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But-
Personally, for me, like when we're learning about something and I
Hey,
get
wait, you have to raise your hand to talk.
oh,
No, I'm kidding.
No.
That was a joke about school.
it's a bit when it's a big workload, it makes me not want to learn deeper about the topic because I don't want more of the workload for me at least, which is kind of sad, but you know. And it's not like lazy, it's just a lot to do and it's overwhelming. That's another word I'd use, overwhelming.
Yeah. Also, the due dates, just
Mhm.
like because of how much they give you, they don't expect other teachers to give you homework. And then there's due dates and stuff. And so it just
And then on
gets-
top of that, they expect you to work and do
Yeah.
extracurriculars and do clubs, and they want you to do all this after school. No time for homework.
It's true. Or good quality family time. And I mean, when's the last time you sat down with your family and played a game of Uno? You know, maybe you do all the time, and that's awesome. But it is very hard. I hear a lot of clients telling me how they are basically they have to divide and conquer. So one parent is over here taking their kids to whatever, another's over here doing this. They're eating fast food meals in the car on their way to something else because they picked them up and they have to run here. And I feel like it doesn't teach anything about taking some downtime. You're expected to do, 35 hours at school, almost like a full-time 40-hour week job. And then you're there 7 hours and then expected to do homework, which we can dive more into that a little more later. But I mean, I agree. And then
Homework might be the stupidest thing ever also, because people aren't taking the time to sit and learn what the material is. They're just trying to get it done.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's not for everybody, but I'm talking about me and
Me.
any people I talk to,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, that was how it was for me. I remember, I'm not going to lie, in
Like,
college,
you just try to get it done.
I was in a class with your dad, and it was a class that I struggled with because it was a math class. And I'm like, let me copy your homework and then teach it to me enough to get a good grade on the test. And
And
look,
it-
I just admitted
Because
that.
you learn so much unnecessary.
Because
too.
and I wasn't going to be using statistics for anything. A business management degree, but anyway. So I'm just agreeing with what you're saying is it actually reinforcing what you learned, or is it something, just one more thing on your to-do list? And go ahead.
Also, more about what Layla said about them teaching like useless stuff. When are we ever gonna need to find X? Like, that's stupid. If
Solve for X.
Things should be taught based off what you. I mean, I guess that's not fair to say. I was gonna say based off what you think you want to do, but you could switch it completely.
but that also goes into them forcing stuff
Yeah,
like jobs in college and
Oh, because you recently had to fill out a graduation plan in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And you were not really happy about that. You felt a little pressure.
I wasn't, and I still don't know what I want to do for a job, and I don't know
And you shouldn't.
if I want to go to college or what college I want to go to if I did.
Guess what? Nobody knows that at that age. So
No, at 13, you're still supposed to be.
you shouldn't be, that really shouldn't even be on your mind yet. You should be enjoying being a 13-year-old.
And I am. That's
And unless there's something that, has interested you since you were itty bitty, how some people are like, I've always wanted to be a cop since I was a little kid. That's different. If it's something that has interested you for years and you're interested, but you shouldn't be pressured into figuring out, like, all right, what do you think you're going to do? We're going to put you down this career path. And it makes sense to put kids through to try and do that. And like, hey, we want to make sure that you have relevant classes
Like a pathway,
for what you're wanting to go for. But at the same time, so it makes sense, but it's like, man, especially at that age, man, at 13, I mean, I can understand maybe even, but even high school, dude, like a lot of people don't know what they want to do when they're in high school
Or I
or
didn't
what
go
they
to
want to go to school
college.
for.
I
didn't.
didn't declare a major until my junior year. I took classes towards each thing I was interested in. But even at 18, when you haven't had any life experience, you've been in school for the last 18 years, and then you're supposed to know what you want to pursue for, first of all, it's not the rest of your life. Anything that you choose to do right now does not mean you're stuck forever. I mean, you continuously can learn things. I mean, I've done one thing for 20 years, hair, but like, look at how many different things that we've learned
Yoga.
and gotten certified in and different things. Yeah. Yoga teacher training, all different manner of things. And you can always continue. You could dive into any one of those things and pursue it. Or
look at your papaw. He did multiple things in his lifetime.
Yeah.
I plan on doing multiple things.
And that there's nothing wrong with that. So that the point is you have that option. You're not stuck with this one thing.
And I do find it interesting, so you hone in on a pathway, but are there any personality, like, Myers-Briggs personality tests being given, or is this child right-brained or left-brained? Are they going to be more logical and numbers-based and science-based, or are they going to be more, you have done that?
Yeah. But they don't, you pick your own pathway. Yeah. They make you take it, but then you don't, nothing happens with it. You don't do anything with it.
I feel like that would be, there's so many other things that they do tests for on a national scale. Why can't they just, at a certain age, I don't know what age it would obviously be preschool, but at a certain age, they test a standardized test for every child, and it's just kind of like an ASVAB test, like the military does, to figure out what you're good at. And it's just certain questions. It's not seeing if you know math or they can come up with certain questions and figure out your personality type and all that kind of stuff, even from that age, and then they can get a good, all right. And then you have specific schools based on type A, type B, type C, whatever it would be called. And then look at those graduation rates. I bet you they'd go way up.
And even honing in on, like I was saying, right brain and left brain, and directing, even certain math classes can be more left brain, right brain oriented. I always get, and some,
Different
but are
teaching
you,
styles.
yes, are you more, you learn by actually seeing it and hearing it or doing it, and, or both, and so I think that could help dramatically. And
isn't that how Montessori schools work?
Yes. Well, they're very broad, and it's student directed learning, and you have different age groups together a little bit. I looked into Montessori for Layla before she was starting school, because I was a little apprehensive of the
public school
system. And, is it a system to create thinkers or workers? And I didn't, so in the end, it wasn't going to be a fit, but we did look into that. So what's one thing that you guys feel like school teaches really well?
Maybe time management.
See that?
But that's maybe because you get punished.
Yeah.
if you don't have good time management. Like turn stuff in, get to class on time,
I
that
mean,
type of
that's a
stuff.
pretty good skill because it's a skill you have to have as
Yeah.
an adult. So
And
Being
I
on
agree
time
with
to
that.
classes, you get
Yeah.
punished if you don't. I had a detention for tardies in a math class because I had to use the bathroom 3
Ugh,
times.
Don't even get me started on the bathroom stuff at school and
Oh,
which
how
will
we
go-
have to make a
bathroom
pass
Yeah,
on our computer.
I'm gonna bring that up.
We're
and
gonna.
we're gonna
Yeah,
talk
I was
about
gonna say
that.
we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about that in
because-
just a little bit specifically, and then you can give us
All right. Yeah,
more
Yeah.
I will.
info.
But
I will because I have strong opinions on that as well. So
so do I.
Same.
Cash, what do you feel?
What's something you feel
Mm,
like school gets right, or something you feel like they do really well,
I
teach
mean,
really well?
not much, but it kind of changes for every school. Like some schools might be better with tardies and bathroom passes, while some schools might be better with actual teaching. And like, I don't know, it's just different for every school. So I don't really know what I think.
Well,
As far as
what about-
what school teaches well? Like
What-
it's
Yeah,
different
probably time management, like Layla said.
yeah.
because you do with juggling so many things too. You have to learn, a lot of different management skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I think middle school is a big transition year for learning some of those things.
A little bit of self-discipline sprinkled in there too, because you do. I mean, to an extent, you have to be disciplined to be responsible. To be like, all right, I'm going to study. I'm going to do this. Whatever it is you have to do, or time management, like they said. But I think that's a good answer.
And if you could change one thing about school immediately, what would it be?
One thing.
Dang it.
trying to narrow it down. I don't know. I have a few.
Okay.
So let me give you 2.
Okay.
I would say the first one, shorter days.
I like
and maybe
that.
starting a little bit later.
Yeah.
I like that
Because
too.
we get out 2:25. I would say even starting at 9, because we start at 7:30. Starting at 9, I feel like would make me feel so much better, because 2-hour delays, when those days happen, like I wake up so much better and just like it's light outside. I'm going to school. It's not dark. I don't feel as tired. I just feel more ready. The other thing that I was going to say is I would much rather be in a small group when I learn
Mm-hmm.
and get taught in a small group, because I have had a teachers where they just project on the screen and do notes, and you're supposed to learn based off of them putting notes on a screen. And then I've had teachers work with me one-on-one or in small groups, and I learned so much better with one-on-one or small group.
Yeah,
Me too.
I get that. I had teachers. As soon as you just said that, I thought of like all my teachers that did that. I had
Mhm.
this math teacher. I think it was either 6th grade or 8th grade. And this is just one example, but she was the first one that popped up in my head. And I remember, because back then, I don't think they still use these now, but the projector, like
Yeah. No,
Not-
they do.
not projector like that you hook up to the computer. I'm talking about like the projector that they use like a marker on. Jessica, what was the name of those? The projectors all of our teachers used, and they would have the clear,
Transparency.
transparency.
They still have
They still have that.
Some do. Some
Okay.
will just, like you said, do their laptop and hook it up. But my
The old
Spanish
school
teacher
way
does.
where you have
yeah.
that light, that projector, and then it projects it up on the screen, and then you just use a dry erase marker. Yeah, so that's what popped up in my head. I would have a teacher that's they didn't do anything else.
My
anything
older
else.
Spanish teacher
Yeah.
still does that.
Yep. They did so I totally get that, man, and I also had teachers that worked with me on a more personal basis. And I loved those.
It just makes it click so much easier, I feel like.
and you know why? It's because it's personalized
Directed to you, yeah.
because as they're talking to you, they're going to, as a teacher, they're going to pick up, this is how this kid is learning based off of the questions you're asking, the problems you're having. So that's why it works. And that's why you like that, because they're catering to whatever your learning style is in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cash, did you have anything?
I was just gonna say, like, the way teachers are teaching, like their teaching methods, and how it's not special to any student. It's just a
Personalized.
generic, yeah. It's just a generic teaching.
So what we
That goes
just
along
said.
with, what
I think it's a lot like really any job or career or trade or whatever, that you can tell a difference between somebody who loves what they do and is passionate about what they do versus somebody doing the same job, but it's just a paycheck
Trying
for
to
them.
get it done.
It's just a paycheck. It's not
Right.
a passion. You can tell a difference. And that goes for teachers, I think, as well, is you
For
can
sure.
tell when a teacher loves being a teacher, when they love doing what they do, and you can tell by how much effort and time and how they truly care. And I'm sure at some point in your scholastic careers thus far, you've had at least one teacher like that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yes.
That's good. At least you've experienced that a few times.
Wait, I forgot what I was gonna say.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Especially to you.
is it about the different teachers and how you've had some that
Did you think of a different,
It was
like an example of a
was-
teacher?
No. Man,
It's okay.
you guys can keep talking. It'll come back to me.
All right. All right. Well, if you could give a Yelp review, what would the average star rating be for school?
Depends who you ask. Oh, I remember what
I'm
I was
asking
gonna say.
you.
Well, yeah, I was
okay.
like-
Okay. Go on before he forgets.
Okay. I was gonna say like when you said about the people who just do it for the paycheck and not because they like the job. I feel like that's with homework. The paycheck is passing the class,
Mm-hmm.
and homework is the job.
It is. School is your job right now.
Mm-hmm. But I would much rather, I say this a lot, and I mean it. I would much rather work than go to school because I'm getting paid to work. I am not getting paid to go to school. I feel less drained.
Do you feel like what you are learning is beneficial for you or
No,
applicable to what they're trying to prepare you for?
No.
not at all, especially because I
no.
plan on going to cosmetology school. So I wouldn't say
Whoop, whoop.
I wouldn't say everything I'm learning. Like, obviously, you're going to have to know the things. Like, everyone has to learn history, U.S. history, whatever. And that interests me a little bit. But it's the things, like, most of the math things that I'm learning are so pointless that when I get the work, I just try to hurry up, get it done, pass the class so that I don't have to ever think about it ever again. So really, it feels like a waste of my time. I'd much rather learn things like
Something that's practical
Money
that you can apply
management.
to life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Money management.
Money
Yeah.
management.
They need to teach that in school.
Taxes.
'cause
How to
They
do taxes. You know, these are things that
exactly.
like they just don't put an emphasis on. I just had this conversation with a client the other day about exactly that same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, why are kids learning calculus or trigonometry? You know,
Which
like,
some
Some-
kids that
I-
want to go to good college, they look for stuff like that.
and I get that, and that's the only exception in my head is like, if you know you want to go to like a really good
For
college, or
engineering
you
or
know you're trying to
something.
go for something that is going to require something like that, that's a different thing. But like, I'm just talking about like, why is it going past? I'm sorry, but the basics:
Well,
addition,
Geometry.
subtraction, division,
Yeah.
multiplication, because you need to know how to do that. Those are basics. But outside of that, why do you need to know algebra? Why do you need to know
Right.
solve for X?
there's some life instances that algebra can be applied to.
I mean,
but
okay, very
beyond that,
basic algebra.
I would like to say, and we do have it on the agenda to talk about the new designed
Yeah.
Indiana diploma, because I think some of what they're trying to do with that is streamline. Like, for instance, Layla said she's not going to college She's going to cosmetology school. So she was not required to take a senior year math
I already
class.
wasn't. I have my math credits done.
She
You already
ha-
weren't required.
No,
because geometry is that's what. No, I'm lying. Algebra 2, that's the highest that you need to graduate. And so my counselor was like, do you want to take another math class? And I was like, no. Do not put me for another math class. I got Algebra 2 done. I got my math credits done. I do not need another one.
And I truly do not feel like that is going to be a detriment to you.
No,
going
I
forward.
think I'm fine.
And you already have a business sense, because I can see that, and will know how to manage money. And that's one of the biggest things, like you brought up. But the thing is with that is that's an elective class. It's not a
business.
Yeah, business finance is an elective, and it
required.
should be or financial planning more so.
Yeah.
Here's a mock budget. This is what you're going to have in life. No doubts about it. And this is how you manage it and work it. Cash, I know you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, along with what Zach said about basics, I feel like what it should be is, if you know what you want to do and it requires like advanced levels of math, I feel like that should be a separate class that you can take instead of being required.
Yeah, like a career path.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Like if you want to be an accountant, then you're going to take some more math classes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But if you plan on going to cosmetology school, you're not. I mean, that makes plenty of sense.
I don't need to know the area of a cylinder.
Right. I think what it should be all like the basics through like grade school, and maybe a little bit into middle school, into some
like Layla.
advanced level basics.
Algebra
you go
2.
through the year, you do your math, you do your like spelling, English language, all of that, reading. And then once you hit like high school, you start doing career specific things, or you start doing those other types of classes where you've got one class that's like finance or financial planning, and then this one is like about, I don't know, just stuff that can teach you and get you. So then by the time you graduate high school, you're at least like a little bit ready to be able to like do stuff. Like a class, like a cooking class that everybody's required to make, that's like basic cooking, so you can cook for yourself as an adult.
Well, they used to have that.
Right. They had
but
like
not
home
required.
ec. It was.
Home
Home
ec.
Okay.
Home ec was required.
Yeah, now it's
and
not.
So was
industrial tech, IT.
Mhm.
And I took both. I learned how to build some stuff, and I sewed a pillow.
Cars.
Oh my gosh. I still think about this pillow. It was a felt pillow that was 2 peas in a pod, and I had to sew on the eyes and sew on the mouth, and it was 2 little peas in a pod, and it was so cute. Anyway,
I failed that class.
I passed with
I
flying
couldn't
colors.
sew for
And
the
it was-
life of me, man.
It was also cooking. It was sewing
I
and
know.
cooking, and I mean that.
I cooked okay, but I couldn't do anything else in that
It's
class.
just so interesting, because now everybody's like, I'll just pay somebody to sew it for me
Oh.
instead of, or I guess, are we sitting around making pillows or what for? I don't know, but it's just interesting to see how the times change. And speaking of times changing, I would like to get into a little bit of history on this educational system and what it used to be. And, it didn't start with Rockefeller, and it wasn't created by one single villain in a smoky room. The common school movement goes back to the 1800s with reformers like Horace Mann pushing for free universal public education. And that part sounds noble. Education for everyone, not just the wealthy. But as America industrialized, the system also began absorbing the values of the industrial age. Standardization, time clocks, grades, bells, compliance, age grouping, and workforce preparation. So Zach, give us a little bit more in-depth info on some of these characters in the public education arena.
Horace Mann's common school ideal was free, universal, non-sectarian public education. It was meant to elevate society and prepare citizens. Later, the Carnegie unit helped lock schooling into a seat time model. One high school unit generally equals about 120 hours of study, which is the kind of structure that still shapes credits and schedules and graduation requirements today.
Okay.
And then that's where Rockefeller enters the story.
Good old John D.
J.D. Rockefeller, John D. John D. Rockefeller funded the General Education Board in the early 1900s, which is...
And he who funds the project controls the outcome.
So the board's stated purpose was to promote education in the United States. But the deeper question that we are asking here is what kind of education and for what kind of society? The Rockefeller Archive Center says the General Education Board was incorporated in 1903 to promote education in the U.S. without distinction of race, sex, or creed, and that Rockefeller's initial $1 million commitment grew to $43 million by 1907, which was 4 years later.
And I think it's widely attributed, it can't be fully verified, but that Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers, which kind of lends to kind of memorization versus in-depth critical thinking. But there is more information on that can be verified, correct?
Yes. So the stronger source-backed version is from a guy named Frederick T. Gates. He was the chairman of the General Education Board, and he wrote a book in 1913 called The Country School of Tomorrow. He wrote about people yielding with perfect docility to our molding hand. And he said, quote, "We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or of science."
Which, that sounds very much like what is attributed to Rockefeller.
I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
And so maybe they kind of were all on the same page.
Well, I mean, now we have the chairman of the General Education Board, so he worked directly with John D. Rockefeller.
Right. And so maybe they both spoke it at some point. But it was the general vision of the system. And
by the way, we've brought him up before. In previous episodes, we've talked about our modern, education system and everything. Just our modern education system was essentially built around this point. I'm not saying John D. Rockefeller, it wasn't just him. Like you said, it's often attributed to him, but it wasn't just him. He was like the financier, but he also knew that if you can control the dissemination of information, I mean, you can control the population essentially because you're controlling. And then that gets all into not only a nation of workers, not thinkers, but it also gets into the whole other conversation of like hidden history, like history being whitewashed. So what they put in our history books, and that's been brought up many times on this show, including like the Michael Jackson episode, because Michael Jackson got up on the mic multiple times and straight up said in press conferences, they are lying to all of you. All of history is whitewashed. Like people like that. So it's not just tinfoil hat, conspiracy community people that say that. Like it's true. And we're finding more and more about how things, because history's written by the victors. So of course, we're going to hear that side of the story and not the entire story. And sometimes they fabricate things to go along with whatever the narrative may be. So that I feel like that's a big part of it as well, is that they're also controlling history. Because if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it, and so they don't want people knowing their true history for many reasons. So I feel like that's a big part of it too. It's not just controlling society in that way, but yeah.
Mm. I don't know. It's just like I was thinking back in my head about the days of my schooling and just the pressures of performance and the, you know, gearing for what do you want to be when you grow up, and instead of who are you and what do you think what do you enjoy? And I wanted to be maybe an attorney. My freshman year, I went in and I was like, oh yeah, a lawyer, they make a lot of money. And we had to do a research paper on it and get into the details of what it requires. And after that, I was like, no, that does not seem like something I'm into. So in that sense, we researched a little bit, but it didn't go beyond that.
I did that in 8th grade. They had a project that they made all of the 8th graders do, and it was like a whole semester that you had to work on it. And it was a huge research project, and it was exactly that. It was, and I was in 8th grade, and they're like, "Yeah, you got to pick, something, and you're gonna completely like find everything out about this, and you had to put together a whole like report with all these facts and figures and everything." And mine was orthopedic surgeon, because I thought it would be cool to work on like athletes or something like that. I don't know. And then I found out after doing that, also they make stupid money. But then I found out how long it takes to go to school for that. And I was like, oh, okay. You have to go to school for like 14 years.
And when you're in your freshman year of high school and you hear that you have to go to school for like this many more years, like that was part of it for me for law school. It was like, ooh. And then thank God, because I've been in a couple courtrooms at this point, and I am not built for that. Although I would have been a very good attorney as far as the psychological portion of it.
True.
Anyway, so, okay, now let's kind of fast forward to modern school. And there was a shift, in the early 1900s, and we've had continuous shifts, and we've introduced more technology into schools, and they might be trying to hone in a little bit more on what the child is geared for. But do you guys, like, speaking from the inside, they also say that about prison, which I'm on the inside.
I got somebody on the inside.
Which we're going to go into a little about how it kind of feels like prison at times. But do you feel like grades actually show how smart someone is?
No, not at all.
Okay, so tell me about that. Because you guys do pretty well. You get good grades, A's and B's for the most part, a few C's. Cash, this past year, had a little bit of a struggle because he was in a transitionary year, went to a new school, started having more classes and all different teachers instead of like maybe 3 different teachers, 7 different teachers, 7 different requirements, 7 different assignments, and jazz band after school and karate. And so you had a lot of things going on. And so you started kind of struggling in some classes. And there was a few classes where you never had a struggle. And then there was a few that you had more of an intensive struggle. And so talk about that a little bit. Do you feel like the grade shows how smart you are?
No, I don't think that the grade shows how smart you are, because sometimes, like I said earlier, it can be how the teachers are teaching. and that can affect the grades because you don't really understand how they're teaching, or like just stuff like that, or the material that they give you. You're not understanding because it's a different way that you're used to.
And then do you feel like you're able to ask for help?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I agree it's about the teachers too, not just the students, because I've never been good at math, but I do not think that my math grade should determine my smartness, which is why I also think GPA is kind of stupid. Grade point average.
Right.
Because
Also, sorry.
I could do really, really good in like my AP Lang class, but it doesn't matter because maybe my anatomy and math class weren't the best. So it's like, no, that should not determine how smart I am.
And see, those are two different sides of the brain.
Exactly. And also, that's the other thing. I was taking the AP English class, but I was taking the math class because our school offers a math class that gives the same credit, but it's, I think, at a little bit of a slower pace for people who, aren't the best at math. So I was in the more advanced English, but the less advanced math. So that's another thing that is super weird.
And I don't know that all schools, maybe they do now,
I don't think
all
think
schools
so.
offer that as
They
far as
don't,
math.
I don't think.
Which I know I didn't have that because I could have used, I was wonderful in writing and foreign language, but then when it came to math and science, it was like, ugh.
Really, the only difference is that there's an extra teacher in there to help out if you need a little bit more assistance, which did help me a lot more, but it really wasn't that much different.
Cash.
I forget what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I feel like grades shouldn't really be a thing because it's like kind of unfair, and if you get like an F on a test or something, you feel bad about it, and then other people can brag to you about them getting a higher score. So I feel like grades are kind of a bragging right for teachers favoriting or like them having the same learning methods as the teacher.
So I have two things to say because I think this is important. I had a sub that was in one of my classes, and I was supposed to be doing work from a book, but instead she came and talked to me for almost the whole class, which is whatever. I don't mind that. But it was what she was saying, that everything is comparative, and she was an AP English teacher from another school district. And she told me that the way that she grades is she would read one student's essay and grade that. And then whatever that student's essay was, she'd put it on the floor so that she could look at it. She looks at the next essay and compares it. Is it better or is it worse? And if it was better, then she'd give them a better grade. And if it was worse, obviously a worse grade. So she would go and grade every student's essay based off the first one that she wrote or that she read. And I think
terrible.
that is, I know, I think it's awful.
Well,
And
that's like a sliding scale, so it all depends on whose one she read first.
it's, yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
The
Wow.
level of
So everybody's compared to this one student.
Instead of like a rubric of
Right.
what you're supposed to follow
And I was like,
grading by that.
I was like, oh, I didn't know teachers could do that. And she's like, yeah, everything's comparison. And I did not think that was a good way to grade or a good mindset.
Yeah, no.
And then another teacher that I had one time in 6th grade, and I really liked this. So he would give all of our assignments for the entire year first, and then he would give the material to learn it, and he would say, I'm only grading you based on what you get done for the entire semester. So he would give it all on the first day with what you needed to get it done, but we weren't graded on what we didn't finish, only what we did. But then also, obviously, if you didn't do any of it, then you wouldn't get a good grade. But if he saw that you were doing the work in class, that's what he would grade. And I really liked that a lot because you go at your own pace. You were still learning it yourself. You could ask questions if you didn't understand something, but then you didn't have to stress about all this missing work.
Did he teach on it?
That's the thing, is if you asked for help, it was his videos.
Okay.
So it was him teaching in videos, but he let you go at your own pace. learning it, so you could rewatch it.
That sounds
It wasn't a core
like
class.
a better.
Okay.
It was what was it? Design and modeling
Okay.
in 6th grade. Yeah.
Okay.
So he would give the videos, and give everything to you the first day, and then you just go at your own pace. And he, like I said, if you
So
weren't
during
doing
class, you would go in and you'd use your screen. your
but they were in the
device.
class. It wasn't your personal one. They were in the class.
And then if you had questions, he would come help
come
you.
help you.
I kind of like that, and I kind of don't. I don't
It
know.
wouldn't
if
work for a
it's-
core class
right,
as well.
okay.
I think you'd have to break it down more some way. But it was good for an elective.
Yeah, I can see that. And for an elective, yeah. Because part of me is, I don't know if part of it's just, well,
Lazy.
you should be speaking in the class and addressing and having it, or
But he would help because
yeah,
it
he
was
available.
confusing
And
things.
so then if you got it, you didn't need to ask and you could just keep going. And if you needed help, you could stop. And I can see the validity in that. Cash,
What do you mean?
you raised your hand.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I was kidding earlier when I said you had to raise your hand to speak, by the way.
I know. But also sometimes it's just kind
You don't
of
wanna
hard to get
interrupt?
into the conversation. Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Cool. I was just making sure I was kidding.
So I think we've kind of hit on this and discussed it. Well, before I ask that, I want to come back. You said, Cash, you think grades are stupid. How then, I'm just asking, how do you suggest that they know if a student is understanding the material?
Asking them like personally on their level, I guess, having a conversation about it. And then also asking the parents at home to see if they're doing it well and just see if they're completing the work and asking for help and stuff and that kind of thing.
I think every year, this is what I think would be beneficial. Every year at the start of the year, everyone takes the same test that is not for a grade to see where you're at. And then based on that, they put you in the classes where you are. So you can be with people that are at the same learning level.
Yeah, that's what I said
would
about
be-
like schools and
Yeah.
stuff, like creating schools based off of what kind of learner you are. But you're
Yeah.
talking about your actual skill level
Mm-hmm.
in any given
And I was-
subject. I think that's a perfect idea.
Well, and in
Yeah.
the Montessori schools, like we talked, they don't really
Have grades.
have grades.
They have groupings
and
of
then you
kids
can
that are
they
different ages.
figure out. I don't know all
Mhm.
the ins and outs because we didn't participate, but it's kind of pass or fail. You get it, and we know that, or you don't, and you don't really move forward. You stick with the same learning, and I mean, because it is such a vast and so many students, you don't necessarily have time. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but you don't have time to talk to every student individually
Mhm.
and
Right.
say, where are you at with this? And you just, so that's where the testing comes in. And so I'm curious, have you guys ever learned something just for the test and then forgotten it right after?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because also studying, it makes you stressed out because you're doing it the night before, trying to get it all done and in your head and locked in. And then the next day you forget it because you're stressed.
Because you
But if
slept.
Sometimes. But also because if you just study for like the actual material 15 to 30 minutes a day, let's say 3 days before the test, then you'll get it.
I was just gonna say, if you can, that's why they say you shouldn't cram everything the night before. Like you should, a few days beforehand, or even longer, depending on how much material it is. Like be consistently studying it in the days leading up to it. That's what I was gonna say, and I wasn't a good studier.
And that's why I have a bone to pick with finals. Because what do you mean I have to remember everything from the past 18 weeks in one test, and that determines 20% of my overall grade?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And when I asked for the study guide, the week, like 2 weeks before, they were like, oh no, you get it like week of.
That also goes into not learning and memorizing.
Yep.
That's why I said it.
Do you feel like school rewards intelligence, obedience, effort, or popularity?
You
Or
say,
maybe it's all of them.
wait,
do
read
you
that.
feel like
Intelligence.
school rewards intelligence, obedience, effort?
I thought
or
you said
popularity?
obesity. And I was like, what? But okay, I would maybe intelligence. Yeah.
Probably obedience
Mm-hmm.
and
Very much.
yeah, probably effort. I wouldn't really say intelligence.
I would. Intelligence and obedience.
That's what
Colleges
I
reward
was thinking
intelligence.
intelligence and obedience.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the school, and it really depends on the teacher. Some teachers don't care about the effort. Some teachers will care about the effort. Some teachers, it's just like you either did it or you didn't. Move on. And you know what I mean? And so I think you're right. But I think it also depends on the teacher and the school probably too. I bet you certain schools are much more rewarding of effort and seeing that you're at least trying, you know what I mean? As opposed to you either get it or you don't.
I have a few teachers that say if you're like 0.2% off from a letter grade and they see that you tried, they'll give you that
They'll
point
round it
too.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
But
I
then
agree with
some
that.
definitely favor the kids who are more
Obedient.
no, I was gonna say
Well,
more
yeah.
understanding of their subject.
I see.
And that they seem to favor them more.
Sometimes, but sometimes it is obedience.
Do you feel like teachers have enough freedom to actually teach? Like to do how they would like, or do you feel like they're kind of confined to what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it depends on like I don't know. Sometimes they're told what to do by the actual school, but sometimes they can just teach how they want.
Kind of maybe depends on the class.
I have a teacher that has us do like activities where we stand up and go across the room that's like agree, disagree. Do stuff that's interactive like that. And I think that's definitely her teaching style. And then I have some teachers that like we talked about earlier, just like to sit and project notes and teach from that. So I do think they get to decide how they like to teach.
Okay. And do you feel like adults understand what school is like now? Like, do you feel like we get it because we've been through it? Or do you feel like you don't understand?
I feel like you get it because I tell you about it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the same as how it used to be, no, because now we have Chromebooks and
Right. Definitely the technology
all
factor.
that. Yeah. Oh, and are we going to talk about bathrooms?
Yes, in a minute. But do you think that school recognizes all the way a kids can be smart?
No. Maybe. Depends. Because, like, I'm pretty good at cooking. So I do go to my cooking class.
Yeah, but
Like, reading a recipe or something versus, like, in math. Like, no, I'm not good at dissecting a frog, but I'm good at making mac and cheese.
mm-hmm. All right, cool. So, Cash, you brought up earlier about like there's different styles of learning. So that's one thing that some common issues in modern education, one size fits all learning. And some kids learn by reading, some by doing, some by talking, some by building, some need movement, some need quiet. And school often treats the class like one giant brain with 30 bodies attached. And that is kind of tricky and can make it a little bit difficult. Do you feel like school lets kids learn in their own way?
No, not really. But I know that I keep saying this, it depends on who you ask. But to me, not really. But if the teacher is teaching in the style of a kid that likes learning in that way, then they're going to say yes, most likely.
That sounds an awful lot like prison.
Yes. Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, yes. You found an article because we were discussing how school is like prison and
yes,
looking up different things. And you found a verified article about the similarities. So why don't you tell a little bit more about that?
I mean, if you think about it from a visual perspective real quick, their transportation is the same. Their buses are the same buses. They're just slightly different colors. Their cafeterias look very similar. Even like your cafeteria trays are the same. And then you have to ask to go to the bathroom at certain points in the day. You have to ask to do certain things. Your time is not always your own. It is sometimes, but only to a certain extent. So it's a very, from a visual perspective, especially when you're younger, they don't really make you do this much as in high school, I don't think, but especially in like grade school where they're like, single file line, get in a single file line, and they make you line up and stuff. I mean, down to stuff like that, you know what I mean? Where, it's just weird, odd similarities. But anywho,
I think part of that comes down to how to handle large groupings of people that you need them to do.
Right.
Maintain order.
Yes. So, yeah, like I said, restricted movement, restricted time. The architectural design itself of a lot of schools, educational facilities are often built using the same industrial principles as incarceration facilities. So they have long, sterile hallways, limited exits, fluorescent lights, enclosed communal cafeterias, like more and more. And then obviously all of your surveillance and security, which I understand that to a certain extent, that it's like necessary, in today's world with, cameras and blah, 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 blah. But, you have very limited autonomy in school, I guess, is what it comes down to. But the thing that she was bringing up earlier that I found was, so schools are fundamentally designed to educate, and prisons are fundamentally designed to detain. So there is something called the school to prison pipeline. Now, I found this directly from a law school. It's a legal journal, law school journal from, I believe it was Florida A&M University College of Law. This was written this publication was in 2018, but real quick, I'll just read it to you. So the school to prison pipeline is a controversial concept and a disappointing reality. It refers to the draconian disciplinary trend of schools directly referring students to law enforcement or creating conditions under which students are more likely to become involved in the justice system, such as suspending or expelling them. Public schools are intended to primarily be institutions for public education. It is clear that serving as a pipeline to prison is not the central purpose of the public school. The purpose of public education is to provide students an opportunity to develop their capabilities and grow as individuals. I somewhat disagree with that, but public education is intended to inculcate civic values that will prepare students to function socially and integrate seamlessly into society. However, prison is a place where we send those who demonstrate an inability or unwillingness to adhere to the norms of society, those who have not embraced society's values, and those who have therefore not successfully integrated into society. School should prepare students for happy, successful, and meaningful lives that are completely unrelated to prison. The school to prison pipeline distorts the public education mission by way of a collection of education and public safety policies and practices that push our nation's school children out of the classroom and into the streets, the juvenile justice system, and ultimately the adult criminal justice system. So basically what that's saying is that it's one of the most disturbing consequences of being a victim of the pipeline is that it leads to negative educational and long-term outcomes, and thus undermines a student's right to public education. Any student funneled into the pipeline is on a path to destruction, is what this lawyer is saying.
Hmm.
So the core idea presented in that symposium-inspired piece is that the school-to-prison pipeline undermines the right to public education and must therefore be dismantled. It's the way they're doing things. It's what he's talking about. He's not saying that every kid that goes to school is going to go to prison.
Okay.
But he's saying that basically, it's three different parts. There is a right to public education. The second part of this whole thing defines the school to prison pipeline. And that's where it starts talking about the emergence of like zero tolerance policies and the impact of school exclusion and arrest on student education. So it also brings up like the disproportionate impact of zero tolerance policies on the Black population and minority population as well. And it's more of the way that they're doing things throughout school and the way they're operating. So that's the school to prison pipeline is what that article that I found.
Okay.
So
That's interesting.
That goes along with what we're talking about in a more in-depth way, because it's simply a critique of the way that they're doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not that necessarily like all school is bad, and it's just some of the things, like when these students are expelled, could there be maybe they go to a school counselor for that time they're expelled every day and try to get down to the point of why they're having behaviors and things like that, and spending a little more time on the children that are already having issues because potentially they're having issues at home. And, how much parental involvement is there? Like, are you just sending your kid off to school thinking that someone else is supposed to educate them for life?
Right.
And, what are we actually teaching them at home? But something just as far as the bathrooms, like having to ask to go to the bathrooms. Tell us what went back in my day.
Back in my day.
Back in my
Back
day,
in the 1900s.
back in the 1900s,
way back in the day.
we would,
Raise your
maybe
hand.
just raise our hand. Can I go to the bathroom? They'd give us
And
a
that's
pass
what
and like roll
we did
out.
in elementary school. You get a hall
Yeah.
pass. Then my freshman year, you say, can I use the bathroom? They give you a little piece of paper. They write what time you left. They have to put their signature. They have to put your name. Like all this stuff. So, whatever. That's that. Then, sophomore year, they start trying to really get into this new concept of a pass on the Chromebooks. And you have to sign into your Chromebook, go to the app. It's called Securely. You have to put what teacher you're leaving from, which bathroom you want to go. So you have to search all the names of each bathroom, put which bathroom you want to go to. Then you have to submit the pass. Most of the time, the teacher doesn't see it because they're teaching. So then you have to still interrupt the class, raise your hand. Instead of them just giving you a pass, they have to walk to their computer, accept it, let you go. The pass times you. So if you're not done in, I think it's, okay, you're in the green until you hit 4 minutes. Then you're...
5 minutes is in the green,
Okay,
and then it goes to
then
yellow.
you're in yellow. Once you get past 5 minutes, well, they also monitor them. They monitor the passes to see what classes you're using the bathroom, how many times a day you're going, how often it's the same during the class, all this stuff, and they time it. And I'm like, that is so weird to me, because if I have to go after lunch every day, like,
That's kind of
that's
normal.
just a daily yeah, it's going to be routine pretty much. And I noticed that I also had classes where teachers they don't let you go as often as other teachers. But anyway, yeah, then your class is getting interrupted. because they have to accept it, and then they go back to teaching. Then when you come back, they have to end the pass, and a lot of times teachers would forget. So the pass would say, like, you're gone for 17 minutes or whatever, and then they call you down to the office, and they're like, why is your pass so long? And you have to explain, sorry, the teacher didn't end it, or the teacher has to send an email to the counselors
Oh
or
my gosh,
whoever.
just
It's so
many
much when you can just
disruptions when you could just say this
give
is
a piece of paper.
and if they're so worried about where the student is, then maybe have like
I mean, there's
bathroom
cameras.
monitors, like a parental volunteer sets up. But it's also just making something that's a natural part of life a big major ordeal.
And even like in my Spanish class, we were never supposed to have our Chromebooks out. And so when I had to use the bathroom, I had to take it out. And then she'd be like, why do you have that out? I'm like, sorry, I'm trying to go to the bathroom.
And then it's a whole
thing. Class
And
gets interrupted multiple times.
the schools pay for
A lot
the
of
app,
money.
for the use of that app. Okay, go ahead, Cash.
I was just gonna say, a lot of times what teachers say is, why didn't you go during passing period, or like stuff like that. And there's a lot of times where I literally don't have time to go during passing period because we only get like I don't remember the time.
And
Like 5
it's
minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah. But also they like, what if I don't have to go then, and then later on I do. And then sometimes they're like, oh, well, can you wait? It's only 15 minutes left of class. I mean, I can, but I don't want to.
Attention Earth humans, this is not a drill. Your haircut has entered a danger zone. At High Level Design Salon and Barbershop, they specialize in emergency-style corrections, precision fades, cosmic color, beard work calibrated to NASA level standards. Because honestly, your current look is drifting off course. Zach and Jessica turn the mundane into magic with results that are truly out of this world. Book your glow up before re-entry of highlevel444.com. That's highlevel444.com for services, pricing, and appointments. High Level Design Salon and Barbershop. Houston, we fixed it.
That's another thing. They won't let you go the last 10 minutes of class or the first 10 minutes of class. So you have a small window where you can go. The other thing, passing period's 5 minutes. By the time I get to my class, so if I were to go to the bathroom, I would be late. So you have to go to class first and still ask to go to the bathroom. So you still have to ask either way, even if you go during passing period, and then you still end up late.
Ugh, it's so complicated. Go on.
Near the end of the year, like last quarter, one of my teachers decided that if you went to the bathroom, but like during passing period, and you didn't get back in time, you'd be kind of tardy, and we weren't allowed to go to the bathroom during class. And also,
that's why I got a detention freshman year, was for the same reason.
Don't they limit it to 3 a day? It doesn't like have an actual limit on the app, but some of my teachers say that like if you've already had 3 in the day, then you can't send anymore.
I haven't had that, but I have had a teacher talk to, like, I sent a pass and she was like, I feel like she was like, these are monitored. Like, she wasn't like, accusing me of anything, but she was just saying, just so you know, these are monitored, and you do go pretty often in my class, which, mind you, was my class after lunch. And she's like, you do go often in my class. I'm just letting you know the office can see how often you go or whatever. And I was like, okay, have them talk to me then. Like,
I mean, is that really a good use of resources and energy to be that up on someone who might need to number 2 after lunch? I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Layla doesn't do that at school.
No.
Okay, so how about phones and attention? Like, this is a big one, and phones are both a distraction and social survival tool for teens, unfortunately. And Indiana passed a 2024 law requiring school corporations and charter schools to adopt and publish wireless device policies. And that was generally prohibiting student device use during instructional time, except for things like educational use, emergencies, or health needs. Indiana has now, as of 2026, established a bell-to-bell restriction that limits students' use during the full school day. Full school day. So, all right, let's talk about that. How do you guys feel about, your phone being restricted from bell to bell? Because it's supposed to be that you turn it off and put it away and you don't have it out at all.
Honestly, I don't mind that as much as if a teacher tries to take it or make us put it somewhere, I think that's when it kind of makes me a little bit more mad. But I don't care to just put it in my backpack, and if I need to, text my mom, just take it to the bathroom or something, take it down the hall. Go ahead. No, I was done.
I think that that's like fine because I don't use my phone at all. But what if there is an emergency and like a family emergency or something that has been going on and I need to have my phone? I don't feel like some teachers wouldn't understand that as well as others because all they think about is the rules of school.
Well, I think typically, like how it was with us before phones were part of the daily necessity, if your parent needed to get a hold of you because there was a family emergency, they would just contact the school and then they would get you and get you out. Or if you had an emergency, the school would contact the parent.
And I was going to say something about that too. That's another thing. If it's something that there might be stuff that maybe I don't want to tell somebody at school, like one of the teachers or somebody in the office, maybe I just want to tell my parent directly. Because there's a lot of times I text you during the day, ask you to get something at the store that I need or drop something off, like I forgot my lunch or a big folder that was a lot of points. I had an assignment that was 200 points. I need you to drop it off. So I had to text you to bring that, text you where to drop it off at. There's a lot of helpful things where to pick me up at.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think as it is, we are conditioned, just like when I felt like I needed convenience and I needed to live like 5 minutes away from the grocery because I always did. And I was like, oh, I need convenience. And Spirit was like, no, you're conditioned for convenience. You don't need it. And I've got fairly convenient things nearby. But for you guys, it's like, oh, I'm used to being able to have instant gratification. And we are an instant gratification society now, and everybody's been socially conditioned to move that way. And so it is, you think, oh, I need to be able to let them know that I need this. Whereas I might have forgotten a school project and I would have either had to go to the office and ask and see if it could even happen that I get that brought, or I would just have to talk to the teacher and say, I did it. I'm so sorry I forgot it. Can I bring it tomorrow? And it would be, there's different things that would happen. You're just used to the best case scenario. And so it's not that it has to be that way, but I know Zach has quite an opinion on that and feels definitely like it's not a big deal. And I agree. I mean, I feel like I do not actually like the fact that you can have your AirPods in on a school day. Like
We used to sneak our headphones.
I didn't. I never listened. I
had it. I would have my iPod in my pocket, and then I'd have like little earphones or headphones, and I would put my hood up.
I focus better.
I'd put it up through my, to where you couldn't see my ears, and I'd sit in the back of the class. I didn't do it all the time, but
a lot of teachers allow like free, like if it's like free time, like free work time, they'll be like, yeah, you can listen to music. But usually like lecture, no, you're not supposed to. Sometimes I'll sneak an AirPod and cover it with my hair because I feel like I actually pay attention better when I have some music playing.
More stimulation. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't-
like I feel like it helps me focus more on what they're saying.
Yeah, but are you actually listening to like
Yeah,
Mozart, or are you listening to like
now I'm listening to my normal music.
So how can you have lyrics going on in your ear and then be paying attention to what the teacher's saying?
I don't know. You know that they say that if you listen to a song while you're studying and then listen to the same song while you're taking the test, it'll help you recall the information. That's like a thing.
I mean, that makes sense because of the nostalgia factor and what like people that listen to music that might have dementia, and then music and songs like help them recall and possibly become lucid. So it's the same part of the brain.
and a lot of I learn, or I guess study a lot with word association. So I think that also might help.
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you brought up, Jessica. I think, was it today? Maybe it was yesterday. About now that this has been signed into law. Like this next coming school year, it'll be effective, or this next semester that's coming up. That we're gonna probably start hearing about even more so than we already hear about it. About teachers dealing with certain behaviors being
withdrawals
exhibited.
withdrawal from
with a lot of
phones and
students.
screens. Yeah.
And it's not going to be everyone, but we all know there's plenty of kids that are, like actually like addicted to their screens. You know what I mean? And we all know, people like that, adults and children. It's not just children. And we've already talked about like numerous teachers coming out and saying, like, especially with the younger kids that are like iPad addicted, that the kind of behavior they're exhibiting is like addict behavior. It's behavioral things that like addicts, like drug addicts. So because they can't have their iPad while they're in class, they're getting these kids in between their hits of dopamine, basically. You know what I mean? Because they're used to it just constantly being. And so then that causes them to act out. They don't listen. Their attention span's super short. It's especially more, I think, amongst the younger kids, but I'm interested to see if we start hearing anything like that. And maybe we won't. Maybe it won't be an issue, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
The kids in my class, a lot of them have their phones and their trapper keepers, but they don't like ever have them out. They just have it just in case they need to contact somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, as a parent, it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling to know that my kids can contact me when they need, but also I don't like the fact that it can be a distraction in the classroom. So I think it'll be a good thing to kind of, take that distraction away and see how it goes.
Something else to put into perspective, though, is I think like school shootings, unfortunately, are a lot more relevant than they were when you were in school. I mean, maybe I feel like that's fair. And so also that's another thing. The school's not going to sit and call every single parent if there's a shooting.
We get an email and a text, and there's one person, they can send out a message, a voicemail essentially to.
Are you going to see that immediately?
Yeah.
Versus if I text you?
Right. Well, and these are different things. And you're right. It does feel as though school shootings have become a lot more prevalent than when we were in school. But it is still not the norm, and it's not every day. And there have been issues at school where you guys didn't text me because you guys didn't even know that there was a threat or something, or maybe you heard about it, but it wasn't an actual whole thing,
Mhm.
you know?
Not something I need to leave for.
Right. So, and overall, phone or no phone, I truly believe I place angels around you guys every day, so you will be safe. And it's going to be something that I think will help you be able to eventually focus a little bit better on what's going on. But it is what it is, and it's the rule, and we'll see how easily it is. We'll see, how hardcore the schools follow it. Some will probably be more, and some might see your phone out or they won't say anything unless they see it. I don't know, but it's just another thing. And I was always kind of surprised at how much access students were allowed their phones. Okay, so let's go into a little about homeschooling. We've talked all about the public education system and what you guys feel and some of the history. And there are pros to it, like the social aspect. I mean, is that a pro for the public school? You get to, do you feel a social pressure at school? Or, I just all of a sudden, before I got into homeschool, I wanted to bring in a few pros because I was like, have we talked about any pros about public education?
I mean, yeah. Like I have friends in almost every class.
And that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so homeschooling is not automatically freedom, and public school is not automatically prison. Either one can work and either one can fail. The question is whether the child is actually learning, growing, connecting, and becoming more themselves, more who they really are. And Indiana's homeschool rules are pretty flexible. The state's homeschool help sheet says families provide 180 days of instruction, keep attendance records, and provide instruction equivalent to public schools. State law does not define exact equivalency, and homeschools are exempt from public school curriculum requirements. So there's a lot of, back and forth between, are they actually going to be prepared, go to college? But I mean, there's a lot of homeschool, you can move forward more quickly.
You have a lot more time.
You have a lot. So
Go your own pace.
let's talk about some of the pros. Okay, so Layla and Cash in 2020, but I think it was 2021, the school year of 21. Cash was in 3rd grade. Layla was in 7th grade. We were doing e-learning because of COVID stuff. And there was a lot of things going on, a lot of inconsistencies in school. And that you were struggling in 7th grade because of it. Cash, I just remember his teacher had nothing prepared for their first day at home. And I was just like, what in the world? Like, shouldn't you have been prepped for this? And starting to have issues with the whole masking thing in schools. And so we went ahead and pulled them out and went to like a homeschool alternative, North Point. And they went Tuesdays and Thursdays. They were taught by licensed teachers. And then I facilitated their agendas Monday, Wednesday, Friday at home. And then Layla got to a point, she was pretty well self-sufficient. Cashy, 3rd and 4th, I was pretty involved in all of it. And then by 5th grade, involved, but he was much more self-motivated and able to, kind of. So essentially, instead of a regular homeschool program where a parent is the primary educator, we were not the primary educators. We were just we were a part of the team. And that's one thing that I think we forget sometimes as parents, is that even when our kids are in a public school, we're still part of a team with the teachers and have to have parental involvement for the teacher's job to work well as well. And so you, like we said, you have a personalized pace. So you can, if you learn something really quickly, you don't need to spend another 2 days on it. And to make sure you get it, you move on. So you could potentially graduate early. There's people that are getting massive scholarships coming from a homeschool situation. You get more family time, more sleep, and less rush mornings. I mean, I don't love school mornings where we have to get up and get ready and get out the door. And, it was a little more laid back, and we had a specific start time, but it was like 9 or 10 instead of 7:25. We had a lot more room for creativity, travel, learning things like entrepreneurship, spirituality, nature. We did a few nature activities, music, art, and hands-on learning. So there were a lot of fun things about that. Less social pressure from school culture and having to fit just so.
Also, I remember at North Point, the teachers, like pretty much all of them were my learning styles, and they all taught well. And I said for me, and they just, to me, taught good and taught in my learning style, and so I feel like I actually learned and didn't have to memorize in that school.
Well, and that's one thing, the ability to build education around the child instead of forcing the child around the system.
I think part of that is the class sizes.
Yeah.
That's another thing you think about with public school is class sizes. You'll obviously have smaller schools in rural areas, but major high schools, my graduating class 20 years ago was almost 1,000 kids just in my grade alone. It was like 900 something. And I know schools that are more than that. Warren Central, Ben Davis, some of those big schools, they've got well over 1,000 per class. And that equals out to, an average of, 30 kids in a class, man, 20 to 30 kids in each class. And I feel like class size probably has a lot to do with that too, because you probably had a much smaller class size than you do in most of your classes now, right, Crash?
Yeah, they said the biggest class, I was in this class, but they said that this was the biggest class that they ever had, and I think it was like 23 kids.
That's not terrible.
But that's for an elementary, not
right.
So that's that's like normal.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I think, class size definitely makes a big difference. They were able to be a little bit more personable.
Because mine for middle school, there was like 10 kids in each class.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cashy, why don't you give your pros about the things that you really enjoyed about homeschool?
Probably learning at my own pace, the teachers, the people there were really nice, and the people running it were really nice because they were always around, walking around if you needed any help. I guess just the system of how they were learning, and even the system at home, not like that we did, but I mean the just online system that they had set up. I guess that this is kind of for all schools at this level, but the stuff that we were learning, and like I already said, the way that they were explaining it was easier for me. We got a lot of time for lunch, and we got 45 minutes instead of, I think we have like 25 now.
30.
30. Well,
still 30 does go really fast in a
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then recess, we would get either like 30 to 45 minutes outside, which is good. We didn't have the disgusting school lunches. We had actual food.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, Culver's, Jimmy John's.
Yeah, but
Jersey Mike's.
because that was twice a week. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you didn't eat that every day.
Oh.
Yeah, now don't get school lunch. I pack your lunch.
And I'm glad because it looks like they just threw toxic sludge on a plate.
I think me and Cash have really different experiences because I was in middle school the whole time going through it, and he was in elementary.
Well, tell me, okay, in your experience, what did you like about that time?
I guess what I liked was not having to rush straight from school to my cheer. I cheer. And so maybe that was nice. And I guess sleeping in on the days that I was home was nice. That's about it.
Okay.
Also, one more pro that I have is that that school didn't start as early. It started like, wasn't it like 7:30 or 8 or something?
I think it was like 8:30.
Yeah.
8:30. That's way better than
Yeah.
having to get up at
6.
and having to rush out the door.
Is also a lot of times, not every day, but a lot of times would get done fairly early in the day.
I'd get done at like noon, yeah.
Yeah, I
If
was
you
gonna
got
say I'd get
started
done at like
at a good time and
11 or 12.
yeah, there were
And
times
then-
Cash was done by noon, and same with Layla.
And that's the thing. I mean, not every, a lot of parents wouldn't be able to do that because
Right.
they are both at work. So
Realize
it's an alternative, but there are a lot of people that have questioned, they are able to be more at home. And so
we were very blessed, but we were very blessed and grateful still to have been able to do that.
because I was
'Cause
off
none-
already Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they came to work and had a back room where they could do Fridays at work, which
I miss that shop.
I also, you said that for you it was more your pace. And I think this is also about grades too, and how I started a lot later than you, because I did not feel like it was my own pace. I mean, the days that I was home, obviously, getting my work done at my own pace, but in general, like overall, all the kids that I was in classes with had been homeschooled their entire life. So what they were learning, they understood so easily, and it just clicked for them. And I didn't feel like it did for me, so everything was going, like the teachers would teach and just move on. And all the kids understood, and I felt like I didn't understand it as well. So I think that's also different because you were in a way younger grade.
and that absolutely that would
Yeah.
play. Like Cash was 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and Layla was 7th and 8th, and then started freshman year back to public
I had
school.
to get out of that.
And well, you went back and forth on deciding at first,
Not really. I mean, like, I guess,
but I think it was more the people at that point than the school setup itself.
no, because I'm the type I hate being home. Really.
Okay, that
You really
sounds
are.
bad.
No, not like that, but it's like when I'm spending my day and I'm just home and I have my work done by noon, and now what?
Well, we did things.
She just gets bored a lot.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I just like to be social and go do.
You like to be.
go out
You
and
like
do
to have
things.
activities.
Yeah.
Yes. You don't like to just sit around and read. You like to
Yeah.
be social.
Like, no, I do not want to have a day on the couch.
I like to have a few hours on the couch and then get about.
Go out and garden.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about the cons of homeschooling. I'm going to give kind of a list, a general and then you guys can give your cons. So one of the things, it does take real parental commitment. Social life has to be intentionally built. Now, we were fortunate with this program that they were in a classroom setting, so there were students already, but there weren't necessarily a lot of after-school activities. So we did have to intentionally find, like, we got Layla in a cheer club. She got to cheer for football and built a lot of friendships around that. And that was an actual great program, and she still hangs out with some of those people that she met a few years ago doing that. And to be honest, with homeschool, you do have a lot more freedom to introduce the spiritual aspect of life. It's a little more holistic in the fact that you can talk about mind, you can talk about body, you can talk about spirit, you can talk about some of those things versus just the education or just the, core education. You may miss certain school experiences, like sports, clubs, labs, dances, which they had dances.
My DC trip
had dances. Family conflict could bleed into school if you are at home and you've got issues and now you're mad at your mom and you doing homeschool, and that could see we didn't really have too much of a problem with that. Some kids need structure outside the home, which I would say, that you kind of leaned into that. And so go ahead and Layla, give me your cons. Don't just.
I mean, I did. I went into it, but yeah. Like, I didn't, we already said I like to go out and not be, it's not that I don't like being home. I just prefer to not spend so many days at home all the time. I felt like in the school, there was not a lot of people that were my type of friends. Like I had friends, but it wasn't, I just felt like I didn't connect with anybody that well, and maybe that's also because I started later on.
Right.
I think that is a big part of it, because Cash made so many friends and connected with everybody just like that, and he still talks to a lot of people. So, because they were all younger, so yeah. I mean, yeah.
They're also boys. Boys get along a lot easier than I think girls do in the
Yeah.
beginning. It's easier for a boy to make a friend with another boy than it is a girl to make a friend out of a girl.
There
a lot
was
of times.
also no music classes, which, because I was in orchestra and choir, I didn't really mind giving up orchestra, to be honest. I didn't love it. I played cello. But like choir, I did like choir, and they didn't offer that. So that's another thing. No gym.
Mm-hmm.
Cash, when you've talked about kind of struggling with going back, not struggling in the sense you like killed it when you started back in 6th grade, but you kind of missed the setup that we had and more freedom to learn other things than just what the school wanted you to learn. And you said, but you don't want to go back because you wouldn't be able to do your music because you're in band and you're in
That too, but I would also just be leaving all of the friends that I've made at this school.
So, did you have any cons of homeschooling? Anything that you didn't like?
Honestly, no, I didn't. And that sounds like I'm just saying that because I liked it, but there wasn't really any cons for me because just the system was good and it wasn't like the average public school system, and it was just good.
It
I
worked
liked it
well
a lot.
for you.
Yeah. And I'm a pretty slow-paced person, I would say. So when I'm at home doing stuff at my own pace, I can ask questions to you, like, and it's smaller group classes, so I can ask the teachers, like, and I don't know, I just feel like also they kind of went at a slower pace. That might have just been because we're younger, but also, like, I just kind of felt like that.
More time to understand something.
Yeah. And
not
that meant that I
memorize
just got it faster.
Because you love to learn.
Mm.
It's not that you don't like learning. I mean, you know so many things. You tell me something and I'm like, how did you know that? I don't know. I just knew it.
I love to learn if I'm not forced to learn it.
Yeah, me too.
You want to learn what you're interested in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So there are, like we've been discussing pros and cons to, an alternative. And nowadays, these programs, the homeschool alternative, where they go a couple days and there's licensed teachers, they're becoming more and more prevalent. You can find them in Indiana. I think iTown Church, I forget what they call it now, but they did one based off of North Point's model.
No, that was North Point. They rented it out.
Yeah, and then iTown started their own one.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mission Christian.
Wisdom Builders.
So there's several programs like that. And then really online homeschooling now, where it's through the state still, but it's online. And there is the social aspect that needs to be addressed, I believe, so that you don't want to just have complete shut off from the rest of the world and any social activities. But you do get a lot more catered to the student learning and things that spark creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. So a few new Indiana changes for the school system is one of the things is the redesign of the high school diploma. And I've had parents that are clients of mine that are parents that are kind of like, oh, if they choose this, then they can't change it, for the rest of their high school career. And I'm not really sure about that because this is now for Cash's class that it's affecting. But the structure of American high school hasn't changed for like over 100 years. And Indiana's diploma hadn't been significantly updated since the 80s. And the new model emphasizes flexibility, work-based learning, credentials, and personalized pathways. And I think that part of it is good, the flexibility. And it's not actually forcing all students into one academic mold. So the redesigned diploma, it helps connect things, and like Indiana College Core and credentials that are of value for you, and work-based learning. So you can do things like, your last couple of years of school, you're going to get licensed. You can be a licensed cosmetologist, or you can go and you can learn a different trade. And so those things are, I think that's a good step into trying to individualize as much as possible. Now, the asking in 7th grade, and again, it changes. Cashy's school counselor assured me like these things can change because he listed, what did you list? Barber and zoologist?
Yeah, because I don't know what I want to do. I haven't really thought about that. So
Right, because you're just learning what you're into and enjoying life. And one day you'll be like, you know what? I love this. And when you love something and you follow your excitement, the money will follow as well. You don't have to be worried about how much money am I going to make, because you're going to manifest the money to take care of what you need. And if you're following your heart, and maybe that job that you feel pulled to do in your heart initially doesn't offer you 6+ figures, you are still going to be able to attract to you the money you need to live the life that you want to live, especially if you're following your excitement. I mean, that's something that's a change, and that sounds like a good step in the right direction for, kind of helping individualize that learning in high school a little bit more. Another change for Indiana is that they have the Indiana's Career Scholarship account, which provides $5,000 annually for students in grades 10 through 12 for career-based learning, like internships, apprenticeships, credentials, and work-based learning. So they'll get a little bit of money to actually go and if they, like for Layla, for instance, has most of her credits, she only has to take a couple. So instead of taking a bunch of kind of unnecessary, flippant throwaway classes or electives, she could do what she needs to do at school and then leave and come work. And so that's something we're working out. And do you guys feel like you'd rather spend part of high school in a real workplace learning a skill? Or
Yeah.
do you, yeah?
I mean, yeah, I'd rather do that and make money than sit through classes I don't need.
Even if you don't make money, you can still experience other jobs
And yeah, like
in
like
replacement for the
if you were
electives.
interested in law school, you could go work at a law office, to see if
Right.
that's something you want to pursue before going to college for
Or you,
undergraduate in law.
or you could watch somebody, like, I don't know, travel with them to do that
Mm.
That's what
and
she's
watch
saying.
them.
And I think that that's a really good step in the right direction as well with helping navigate.
And so you don't waste the money on college or the schooling that you decide to do and then do it and you're like, wait, I don't even like this.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could also help you figure out what you don't want.
Yeah.
So if you guys could design your dream school, let's have a little imagination here. What time would school start?
I would say 9.
I was going to say like 9 to 10.
So I'm still getting up and waking up at a decent time, but it's not so early.
And how long do you think classes should be?
The same 5 minutes. I'd say no more, no less.
55.
Yeah, mine are 55 minutes.
I think mine are 40. But I feel like 45 to an hour, yeah.
Because then you get across what you need to, but
Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't even get a podcast done in an hour, so it's hard to learn something when you.
See, that's why I vote for block scheduling, because you're in each class for an hour and a half.
well, this is our dream school.
I
Yeah,
know.
this is-
I'm
this is
saying I'm not saying it's not your dream school. I'm saying
Right.
therein lies
did block
why
sch-
block
have you ever
scheduling
done block
works,
scheduling?
because you just said,
Did you do it?
yeah, that's,
I did it
that's what my high school did. It's so you have 4
did
classes
both.
a day. That's it.
because at Pike we had block scheduling, and then at Warren Central, when I moved halfway through, we had regular. And
I'm not saying every school
That's
has
a
to do it.
bad switch.
yeah,
I'm just saying, to go along with what you just said, you're like, we can't even get a podcast in an hour. But
Right.
See, it allows
I mean, we get
For you to
plenty
get-
done.
get plenty done, and a lot of times you're done early, and then you might be able to get that homework done before you even leave class.
All right. What subjects would you guys want to be mandatory? You have to learn this.
Culinary.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I would say basic math, basic English writing, some history.
Yeah, I was going to say probably culinary, basic math, English, science, history, and then probably gym.
I think science basics, like know the body and the
Yeah.
functions and
Yeah.
bones and muscles, how they work, but not all the stupid unnecessary stuff.
Like the periodic table of elements.
Yeah.
That's one thing when you were studying that and memorizing everything, and I was going back and remembering how I had to
And you know what?
memorize that. No one has ever asked me once.
Right. I was going to say that was last year. I haven't had to use it again since, and I don't remember any
Well,
of it.
And I've never had someone say, could you show me where iron is on the periodic table of elements before I give you this? So I'm just, even in college, I
Right.
never went back to that. So, and just, I mean, I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't learn that. I'm just saying, like, one of those. That's one thing that didn't transfer to my adulthood. Do you guys think that you should get outside time?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
I
That's-
asked teachers if we can go outside. Sometimes they don't say yes, but
But hey, if you don't ask,
I had some teachers that
worst
would
thing that-
regularly teach class outside. If it was
It's-
nice out, he
yeah.
would take us out to the football field, and we'd just sit in the stands, and we would like maybe do a worksheet or something out there.
man, even just 15 minutes, like even inmates get rec time.
I went
2
outside
hours a
one
day, I think.
time one time the whole semester, and it was for math, and it was to like do some project about the football field, like measuring it. And I would also get rid of fluorescent lights and have just a bunch of windows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like no windows.
I know.
That's also why blue light glasses might be nice.
You know what else doesn't have a whole lot of windows?
A prison.
Prison.
Do you
See?
think that meditation, emotional regulation, nutrition, movement, or nature should be part of school?
Nature, that's what we just said, yeah.
Yeah.
Movement, yes. Yes, meditation.
More than gym.
One
Yeah.
time we had a teacher do meditation in my health class, and people didn't take it seriously, so I don't think that should be like a mandatory thing.
But if you guys were taught that
I
How
wish
to
they had like
regulate?
a room,
from
Yeah.
the get-go, that you could go to and
Yeah.
and
kinda-
it's like, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Let me go to the meditation room. That'd be nice.
that would be nice. But like I was saying, if you all were taught meditation as a more scientific, it doesn't even have to be the spiritual aspect with what it does for the brain at a young age from like kindergarten, and it was just part of it all every year. Maybe first 5 minutes you get focused in, could probably see some major improvements.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you remove immediately if you were allowed to remove anything from school?
Homework.
Good one.
Yeah.
Some of my teachers' teaching license.
And what would you add immediately?
Windows.
Yes, I'm in agreement.
Frames let's say that the classes are block scheduled, hour and a half. The first 15 minutes of class, 15 to 30, I guess 15 could be outside time where you just sit outside and don't do like work, and then you come inside and can do work,
Mm.
and they do that for every class.
That'd be a cool way to utilize some of that extra time in a block schedule.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I also
Or maybe after class, when everybody's done, they confirm everybody's done, and then they go outside.
Yeah.
Give the kids incentive to stay on task. It'll be like, hey, if y'all get done by this time, we can go outside.
But then it's annoying if you get done and the kids don't get done,
That's true.
because that happens sometimes. But I was gonna say, I also don't understand why almost every school I've ever been in, it's either like dark red decorated or green.
Hmm.
And it's ugly. And I don't know why they pick such weird, sad colors. Because not
And
that
colors
red and green
mean a lot.
It's not that red and green are sad colors, but it's like a really dark
the colors
muted.
that they pick.
It's like muted and just
I'd like to actually look into that.
why
Because-
those colors?
And there are definite
why not yellow?
like there's a lot of advertising with the color red.
Yeah.
There's a lot of psychological things that happen with colors.
Those entire teams of social engineers for these companies, especially fast food companies. If you take all the major fast food companies and you put their logos next to each other, you'll notice kind of the same, same basic color scheme amongst a lot of them. You'll see a lot of the same colors used, and I feel like because it affects your mood and things like that. Aren't the colors you're talking about based off of school colors though?
No.
Because
You're not talking about like is there
No,
not
'cause my
green all over the
colors-
school because of
I'm
the
saying,
school colors?
like, why are half of the lockers
Oh,
deep muted red
I see what
and
you
the
mean.
other half are green? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there are some lockers at my school that are like really dark, not maroon, just like
Do
weird
they not
red.
go with the rest of the
then-
colors? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
they don't.
No, like, our school colors are green and white.
Uh-huh.
Not everything on the inside is green and white. And I feel like it should be like lockers should be green and white.
I wonder if they did that. I wonder if it was like a money thing to where
Maybe.
like maybe they were when they were putting new lockers in or something and they got a real good deal. And I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows?
But why would it be the same for
So-
us too? Because we have green
yeah.
and red lockers.
Maybe there is a reason behind it.
So what you're saying is your dream school would definitely be a different color.
Yes, it doesn't have to be so sad looking.
Mine was
and
maroon
just
and gray.
Maybe a lot
Exactly.
of maybe a
That's
lot
what
of
my
fake
high school
plants.
colors were.
fake like I'm just like, why not yellow? That's still like neutral.
Right.
Like I would
shiny, happy.
obviously if it was my school, I'd say pink. But I know that's not realistic, so yellow.
A lot of my teachers have like fake plants or real plants in their room. So
That's
I'm kind
good.
of glad about that.
Bring some nature in. All right. So last question. Would your dream school create better workers, better thinkers, or better humans?
Better humans.
Better humans.
Nice.
Awesome. Awesome.
I mean, maybe the problem isn't that kids don't want to learn. Maybe the problem is that learning got trapped inside a system that often confuses obedience with intelligence, grades with growth, and compliance with character. Public school, homeschool, private school, none of it really matters if the child loses their curiosity.
Because the real goal shouldn't be raising workers, test takers, or rule followers. It should be raising awake, capable, compassionate, critical thinking humans who know who they are and how to live.
Amen.
Amens. Well, we want to thank Layla and Cash for being with us and offering their perspectives and opinions. Thank you guys.
You're very
Of
welcome.
course.
And
Yes, thank you.
also, I'd like to just throw out a disclaimer as well at the end that, like, I really respect teachers and what they have to deal with, and they do have a lot of bureaucratic BS that teachers
was gonna
that they
say,
have to deal with, and
teachers have gotten the short end of the stick for
yes,
a long time
they are
now.
they are blamed for a lot of things where their hands are tied, and
They are inside the system that we're talking about, and it's not, they are essentially cogs in that machine, unfortunately. And then occasionally you get teachers that push for more like good teaching, and teaching and teaching according to these kids, learning styles and such. But let's not forget that they're inside that they have to deal with stuff within the system as well.
And we were actually going to have a teacher on today that teaches in high school, and she was going to speak on some of the things that they have to deal with within, and being kind of disrespected, and being told the framework that they have to work within, and some of them not placing the importance on their classes. And so I do want to give a shout out and a huge tip of my hat of respect to these teachers, because I hope that if a teacher was listening and they got through the whole thing, that they don't think we were just bashing teachers. Like, we understand there's different styles, and the kids do have appreciation for different teachers, and as do we, and it is a team effort. And so before we fully signed off, I just wanted to put that because we didn't have that other aspect in the show, we didn't really go into the teacher perspective as much. But
God bless the teachers.
God bless the teachers.
God bless the teachers.
Even though, like, the teachers get their own week, their teacher appreciation week, they deserve more. They should get more than just that week.
They should definitely get more
pay
as far as pay goes. Like, we've got these athletes out here making millions upon millions, and then the people that are entrusted to shape the minds of said athletes
or their children
and future generations get paid peanuts, and don't get the kind of accolades that they deserve. And I would venture to say there's more good teachers than bad teachers out there, because most of the people are there because they had a heart for the students. And then sometimes the bureaucratic BS gets in the way of that. So,
thank you again.
Thank you again.
Thank you again.
And thank you all for listening. to this episode. And as
was a
usual,
pleasure.
it's been brought to you by High Level Design Salon and Barbershop. For booking info, photos, anything like that, you can check highlevel444.com. Again, that's highlevel444.com. We also have t-shirt shop and recommendations of all sorts on the same page that under the high level recommendations page. And
Also, if you would like to support the show at all, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee and buymeacoffee.com. And if you feel so inclined to support the show in any way, all that information is listed, I believe, on our website, but definitely in the description of our show, in each episode description. So if you feel so inclined, that would be awesome. If not, that's totally cool. We love just having your ear as well. Until next time,
we leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator.
May the force be with you.
And also with you.
Peace.
High Level Hairesy.